Is it time to panic over the Broncos offense after another miserable start this week against the Chargers? And we're diving into the film to see what went wrong, what went right with the Broncos offense and defense. Plus, it's a short week, baby. We're on to the Saints, and we turn the page today, and it all starts now. The Broncos offense was zapped by the Chargers in the first half yesterday. Will a trip to the Big Easy give them the boost that they need? We're breaking it down on the DNVR Broncos podcast, where we are rocking and rolling in the Toyota Lounge. Of course, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores inside the DNVR Bar. And the DNVR Broncos podcast is presented by our friends over at Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up to get the bonus boosts and bets that they're offering. We've got Todd Davis. We've got Henry Chisholm. We've got you here rocking shades inside. Todd, how do you feel about that look?
I mean, if you're feeling yourself, I think that's what you should do. You know what I'm saying? If you're going out and you're indoors or outdoors and you just feel like I got a fit on, I look good, I mean, keep your shades on. Don't need to take them off.
Look good, feel good, podcast. Great.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, love it. So you keep doing your thing. You've even got a little chain on. Man, you are feeling yourself on
I've
this
always
Monday.
had a chain on, my guy.
But when it pops a little more when you've got the sunglasses on.
Some blue chew
That
last
gold,
night.
blue chew waking up perfect, man.
Wow, Henry, how are you doing today?
Oh, good. I don't have a chain or glasses or anything. I've never worn a chain. Like, it just doesn't really fit the vibe.
What vibe?
My vibe?
What vibe are you going for?
I don't know. I seem to wear a lot of hoodies.
I think the vibe
shorts.
is the Montana vibe. Because right now you've got
That
the
is true. I
Montana
did
hat,
double up.
the Montana sweatshirt. Todd, I don't know if chains would fit with the Montana look.
Maybe not. But what do you put on like when you're like, dang, I look good or I feel good, I smell good, like you just
Wow.
got a cut, you know?
That's a
You
good
went
question.
to the gym that day, like what are you throwing on?
I don't know. It's definitely jeans that day.
Okay.
We're getting into jeans season, so I'm going to be wearing jeans more. And then, like, I used to have, like, a couple, like, kind of like flannelly button downs.
Uh-huh.
But
Show some chest hairs.
no, I don't have those little inside scoop. Actually, I've got about a dozen, but that means you got to trim them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
You don't
really
go
have,
full
like,
wax.
a go-to.
You go trim.
No need to wax. No. I feel like you have to have more that needs to be taken care of to go to the effort to wax.
I disagree. I actually waxed myself last week.
Wait, no
Whoa.
way.
Waxed my chest.
No way.
Yeah.
Eh,
Yeah.
But are you really
You
that
did?
shocked? Be honest.
I'm
Of course,
I'm a little
yeah,
surprised.
of
It felt,
You had the like little
to do it. You
Wow.
rub these
Hot
little things.
cream.
Yeah, you put it on, and then you just pull the thing off. And boy, you feel like a badass when you do it yourself.
all I can think about is like 4-year-old version where it's Steve
You know
Carell's
what?
getting waxed on the table.
It's not bad at all. I thought there was gonna be some screaming. There, not even a yelp came out.
Wow.
Nothing. Yeah.
I would have been less surprised if
Interesting.
you said you didn't know what waxing was.
Mm.
That would have added up more.
No,
in
I'm
my
a
mind.
man. I need to get rid of my chest hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
The more I think, I'm going back to your question. Lexi's family is going to be in town this weekend because I have free time because the Broncos aren't playing.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna put some thought
We should
into
go
that.
to the mall. We can go to the mall, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What stores are we going to?
Yeah, we get some content, you know what I'm saying? I can't tell them all the stories because then everything we need will be taken by the time we
Oh,
get
that's
there.
true.
You know what I'm
That is true.
saying? So we'll keep it on the
No,
low.
That is true.
he should be going to American Eagle. You got to ease them into.
You can find
American-
some. You can
little
find
bit.
some pieces. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's always like you got to spend $1,000 every time you go to the mall. Like you can find pieces in different stores. Like I think fashion is more so about how you put it on instead of just the dollar signs it costs to buy the pieces.
That's
yeah.
true.
I'm just checking your fit
I
out.
know.
Right
I'm just
now.
chilling.
Yeah.
I'm just
No, you
chilling.
put it together
You
pretty
know what I'm
nice.
saying?
You're underselling
Something
yourself.
Yeah, those
all
shoes
black
do not.
dad
yeah.
gang hat.
Something like.
And now the I mean, are those all pure silver shoes?
No, they're not pure silver. They got a little bit of silver on them. You know what I'm saying?
Those
Something
are
like-
blinding, and no wonder your hair's
Wow.
wearing the sunglasses to block that out. All right, let's jump into it. We got a big day because Broncos play in just over 72 hours, which is crazy because we're not even 24 hours from the last game. But we want to wrap up yesterday and then start moving on today. So let's start with moving on from yesterday and the most informational session you're going to get as Todd taking us to school with the inside scoop right now.
I used to love these games, like, especially when you have a bad one and you're like, we don't even get to watch the film.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even get our grades. We just move on to Thursday night. Like, oh, that used to be beautiful. But let's start off here with we got to talk about the good. We got to talk about the bad. And, that first passing play of the game, it wasn't very good, and it was a pick by Bo. It's tough because you look at the protection. He's getting good protection. It's a clean pocket. You get little Jordan Humphreys running the clear out, and he's bringing his guy with him. And so you're getting the coverage that you want. They're in cover 3. The safety's coming down. And this is exactly where you need to go with the ball. Like, he makes the right read. This safety's high. This guy's taken out of the picture. Like, this open piece of the field is exactly where he needs to go with the ball. But the problem is he just throws it too high and, tips and overthrows. We talk about it all the time on defense. That's how interceptions come. And unfortunately, this ball gets tipped up. This guy does a great job of tracking it and bringing it down. But it's tough because you want Bo to take these shots and see what he's seeing. Like, he's seeing what he needs to see. But he just wasn't as accurate as he needed to be on this play for it to be successful.
Yeah, well, that's the one play that they run in the passing game that actually works consistently.
They run it all the time.
Exactly.
Yep.
All the time. The clear out with a dagger behind it is like 80% of their offense.
Exactly.
And it had a lot of success in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yep. But usually they run it to Court, who happens to be about 7-8 inches taller. And so maybe that ball that's up there for Marvin, if it was Court, it works out. But yeah, I mean, this one, similar to the deep ball to Marvin, just put it out in front of him, let him run. He's fast. And I didn't think it was like the greatest route ever. But we're nitpicking.
Man, so, because I said this right after it happened, and I want to get your perspective, Todd. So the ball has to be thrown better, without a doubt. I'm not trying to put this on anyone else but Bo. He needs to throw the ball better. But I hate when receivers only go up to catch a pass with one hand. That's all Marvin did here, was try to catch it with one hand. And to me, like, why? All it's going to do is something bad is going to happen 99.9% of the time. Marvin's not making that one-handed catch. So when you put that one hand up, you're just tipping it up in the air. Again, Bo needs to make a better pass. But at that point, I'm just thinking, man, if you're only going to go up with one hand, knock the ball down or something. But essentially, go up with two hands and try to catch the ball. He only went up with one hand here, and I don't really like that.
It's tough because you're running so fast. So, I mean, you're trying to do something to get the ball to come down your way. And it's like, if you go with one hand, it's not good. If you go up with two, you don't have enough like body control to get back to make it. You don't go up with any, then maybe the safety just gets a pick because it's just thrown straight to him. Like, it's tough, man. I think it's all because of the accuracy of the ball that we have all these different like conversations. If the ball is put on target, I think he makes his catch and he keeps running. You talked about the Marvin Mims play. That's actually my next play here. It's tough because maybe last week is still in Bo's mind, like that throw to Troy Franklin where he puts it out, and it's a perfect throw. Like, and maybe he thinks if I took a little bit off of it, it would have been easier for Troy to make. And I really felt like Troy has to find a way to make that throw or make that catch in the end zone. And he kind of underthrows Marvin right here. He gets a good pocket. This is called a waggle, where it's like he kind of boots out, but he doesn't boot all the way out. He stays behind the line. So they got a really, really clean pocket for him right here. And they'll take the shot that they want to take. Like, this guy's beat. Like, if you're able to put this ball out here and let Marvin run underneath it, like, that's exactly what Sean Payton wants. And we talk about not having enough deep ball threats in Sean Payton's offense, but they're right here, and they're working out the way that they want them to. They just got to have a throw a little bit more on target, because unfortunately, I really feel like Marvin is faster than this guy. He had him beat by at least 2 or 3 yards. If you lead him, I don't think the guy touches him, and I think Marvin is in for 6, and it's a great play. And now it's 10-7, and we're in a more manageable ball game.
Do you think it's a lack of arm strength, or do you think he just underthrew that one for other reasons?
Yeah, I think he's thinking about it. Thinking about his throws. I mean, last week, I think the throw that he made last week was probably further. But now he's thinking like, okay, let me make it a more catchable ball. And instead, just you need to lead Marvin and let him go run under that and make that play.
And they're doing a really good job moving the pocket, so it isn't just a straight drop back.
Yeah.
But on this play, it's kind of weird because you have him kind of just roll out past the far hash and then go back across the field to Marvin. And it almost feels like that would just make the throw that much more complicated to have him kind of roll out, set his feet, and then go back across the other way.
The only thing I would say with this is that it's such a clean pocket and he has so much time. Like, by the time you get there, he takes 2 steps, like step, gather, throw.
Yeah.
You should be able to put together a good throw, at that point, even though you are like half rolling out.
You could have taken a step, and then thrown it.
Exactly. We talked about a little bad. Let's talk about some good stuff. This is a sack fumble. Man, sometimes you just need the ball to bounce your way. I feel like the Broncos defense did a pretty solid job in the red zone the entire day, even though the score was what it was. This is Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper combining on the sack fumble. A little TNT stunt, which is like nose and tackle. TNT nose. All right.
I like that.
They're
dynamite. They're about to blow it up.
Exactly. He does a great job of picking the center. Zach Allen comes around. J.K. Dobbs comes out. He doesn't even try to block him, so it's not our fault. He just comes out, tries to run his route. Jonathan Cooper is rushing up the field, and they say anytime you get to the depth of the quarterback or behind the quarterback, you got to retrace, which means come back down towards the quarterback's depth. And he does a good job of Zach Allen squaring up Justin Herbert. And Jonathan Cooper comes and punches this ball out. And you see the ball's over here, so we think we have a good shot of of getting to it, but sometimes it just doesn't bounce your way, and Justin Herbert is able to recover it. But I think if we were able to get the ball right here, I think it really would have been a momentum changer for our offense and our defense.
I know, Todd, it's a great point, but this is 3rd down, so it was like, for a second, it was like, oh my gosh, they just got a huge turnover. But then it was still like, okay, what was it? 1st and goal from the 4 or 3, and then the Broncos are making them kick a field goal. And this, I thought, was like, if the game is ever going to turn in the Broncos' favor, the Broncos are going to get the ball and score here, because the defense kept it from being a 3-possession game to just a 2-possession game. And then, of course, the offense wasn't able to do anything, and then the defense allows a touchdown on the next drive after.
Yeah, the defense did a really good job in the red zone. The second touchdown that you mentioned was outside of the red zone, so it doesn't count against like their red zone, how good they were. But I think the entire day, they gave up 2 field goals, 3 field goals, and really held teams when they really were kind of put in some tough situations. So, the defense is still playing hard, man. Not their best day, but I think they were playing hard.
I like that. And speaking of playing hard, want to get into the comeback, Todd, and the inside scoop. But before we do that, I would like to give a shout out to our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. And most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. And if you're one of them, you got to check out Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in Colorado with PMCU. You get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like a reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. And this is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. And you guys know how important the Colorado community is to us. That's what we're all about, supporting local small businesses. And whatever your goals are, they can help. Over at Premier Members Credit Union, it's all about creating a better banking experience for their community. So why not see what they can do for you? Check them out at becomepremier.com to learn more. That's becomepremier.com to learn more. Again, Premier Members Credit Union, where they are all about Colorado and you. Check them out over at becomepremier.com to learn more.
And check out UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge if you want to be healthier. I'm off to a bit of a rough start to my healthy day. Still haven't made it to the gym, but as we talked about last week, it is like 11 a.m., so there's plenty of time the rest of the day. Also had a bowl of Captain Crunch.
Oh, tasty.
Oh, it's so good.
Roof of your mouth is tore up.
Oh, actually, yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. It's crazy.
Did you use milk or did you use Celsius?
I used milk.
Okay, good.
Yeah, now I'm drinking the Celsius. I'm going to bounce back, though. And I'm not sure how exactly. Definitely getting to the gym. The thing is, I'm going to the Avs game tonight.
You're not bouncing back.
No, I'm bouncing back. I'm bouncing back.
I believe in you.
Oh no, that's been a.
You're gonna have a good second. You're gonna have a good second half performance.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that later. But I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna eat something healthy. I'm gonna avoid drinking too much. Those sorts of things. Because Colorado should be the healthiest place in the nation. And if you join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co challenge by clicking the link in the show notes or going to uchealth.org/readysetco. You can join us.
Boom. And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. All right, Todd, let's dive back into the insides.
All right, let's do it. Hank, you talked about it earlier. Like, this is one of their favorite concepts.
Yep.
The clear outs with the deep dagger behind it, and it's usually Courtland. This time it works. You're going to get these guys running deep across the field to clear out a lot of the trash in the interior of the field. You're going to get Courtland coming down on this deep dagger here. Chip and release. Check down just in case things get kind of crazy. Bo has outlets for the ball. So this one's tough. I mean, we get a rough penalty here that kind of negates this play. But if you talk about playmakers and guys that need to make big plays, like Courtland does a great job. We get in field goal range just by the catch, and then the run after the catch is what really sets him apart, and he's able to get vertical here, and it goes for 49 yards. It would have been one of the biggest plays of the season for Bo, and it would have been a great play. And you talk about Bo had 206 yards again. I mean, you add 49 to that, plus another 50 from Marvin Mims catch. All of a sudden, Bo had a tremendous day, and the Broncos offense is rocking and rolling.
Wouldn't have been 20-0 at halftime.
And it wouldn't have been 20-0. And that's the toughest part about this play in particular is it gets negated because of a holding penalty, but we don't score before the half.
Yep.
So they scored, we don't score, and then they get the ball back at halftime. Like, this was a double whammy. We really needed this play right here. And, people have a lot to say about Courtland, where he ranks as far as wide receivers, but I feel like if he gets opportunities, I think he usually makes the most of it, and this would have been a great opportunity to, continue to get his stats up, but also help the team.
It have been a 100-yard day for Courtland as well, I believe, which the Broncos are still looking for their 100-yard receiver or a 100-yard rusher on the game. And, man, that one was just such a blow.
Yeah.
And it just feels like when the Broncos offense isn't clicking, it's doing things like this, where it's not just not moving the ball, it's hurting themselves and going backward after a big play.
Yeah, I hate that. You can't have that. If you want to be successful, you got to stay ahead of the chains. And when you get big plays, you can't have them negated by penalties. This is what Bo, I feel like, is doing really well right now. I think he's using his legs at a really, really high rate. 2nd and 5, the Broncos are trying to put together a score. You're going to get Bud Dupree coming off this edge, and, GB doesn't get the best of him, and I don't know how Bo escapes this, but, Bud Dupree is completely on his back paws and is taking him down.
He is.
And Bo Nix finds a way to get out of this. He gets out of it. He does a great job scrambling. He ends up scrambling and he's 20 yards deep at this point from the line of scrimmage, and he ends up scrambling and gets to the edge and gets the first down, and more. Kind of gives this guy a point towards the end, like, you can't catch me. I did like that when I saw it, but then I did look at the scoreboard and say it's 20-0. Probably shouldn't be pointing right now. Like, let's save that for when we're up. But nevertheless, I think what he's doing really well right now is using his legs and getting out of trouble when guys aren't open or if the O-line starts to break down.
And it's such an underrated part of his game that I still think Broncos country is getting used to, is he does have that extra step, literally, when he's running, and the ability to break a sack from an outside linebacker was very impressive.
Yeah, it's very good. And the thing about it, like, he's definitely faster than you think, because a lot of these guys have the angle on him. Like, when Zero was coming down here, he had the angle, and Bo just like sometimes guys are fast enough that even if you have the angle on him, it's not going to work. And he's really showing that he has more speed than people gave him credit for. So he's able to capture the edge there. All right, this was my favorite play from Bo the entire day. The pocket, it's pretty good, but he's able to step up in the pocket like he wants to do. And, with him stepping up in the pocket, he does a great job of not just tucking and running right here, but actually using his eyes to get to see downfield. And he's able to find Vele. Nice little dump off pass to Vele, because he's able to keep his eyes downfield and has a great feel for the pocket. This play ends up going for 27 yards and gets them down and later leads to a score. But I think it's a great job of him finding Vele getting open, them working together. And I think this is what Bo needs to do more of. It may take more, Patrick Mahomes type plays for him to be successful, stepping up in the pocket, using his legs, extending plays, and finding guys downfield. Because for the most part, when he starts scrambling, he usually ends the play scrambling.
Yeah, 100%. And then, Todd, can you go back one slide? What is a linebacker supposed to do here? Because Bo takes off going forward.
Yep.
So I imagine he's the first threat. So you're supposed to bite up on that? Or what are those two guys supposed to do in this situation?
So it just depends on, like, whether that's my guy or whether we're in a zone, like it seems like this corner should be locked on Vele, so it should cause the linebacker to step up and try to make a play on Bo. And then it just kind of puts him in no man's land. If Vele's able to get open, then there's nothing linebacker can do.
Yeah.
You're not fast enough to get there to stop me from throwing the ball. So easy over the top pass for 27 yards.
Yeah, and the point of that is just, like you said, Bo's ability to run puts so much pressure on the defense, not just by him getting first downs through his legs, but also pulling defenses up and confusing them.
Exactly. All right, that play leads to this next play. And this is a good job, again, of giving Courtland a chance, man. This is a double move right here by Courtland. And the ball's going to Courtland. You can look at everybody else on the field. It's kind of like a non-factor right now. Sometimes you have plays where this is going to Courtland and everybody else can kind of take a break. He runs a double move, and you probably shouldn't throw this ball because the corner is back at 8 yards. He doesn't bite at all. Like, he's not even in the screen when Courtland is breaking down. Like, probably shouldn't throw it, but when you have Courtland Sutton, just give him a chance, man. I think it comes down with the ball more often than not, and he does a great job of body on the body, and Bo gives him a chance, and that's all I want him to do with his receivers. Like, Courtland is covered, but sometimes you can throw a guy open. Or if you have a dynamic guy like Courtland, just give him a chance. Throw a ball that only Courtland can get to, and let's see what happens. And Courtland does a good job of creating a little bit of separation towards the end of this play and coming down with the football. And this was a huge shift in momentum. We go up 13 to 23. It really felt like we could find a way to get back in this game. And I think it was all because of him giving Courtland a chance, and I think he came up with the ball there. That's just what we need. We need more chances for our wide receivers.
Yep. And so they go for 2 on the next play because they have to. They go empty. They don't have Courtland Sutton on the field. Like, you're going empty. You've got 5 receivers out there.
Yeah.
And after Courtland makes that play in the back of the end zone, you don't want to put him out there? Like, you don't think that, like, you could get the one-on-one, give him a chance at the fade, or maybe they kind of rotate the defense over a bit. It opens other things up. That kind of blew my mind that your best red zone threat was not on the field. Like, it'd be one thing if they're like lining up center, it's obvious it's a handoff. But when you're empty, just crazy to me.
I don't know. I kind of understand not having your best offensive player out on the field in the most important play of the game.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so
I
sure.
mean, you were losing it when it was happening. I just assumed that there was going to be a late substitution, and there wasn't. So, Henry, that 2-point conversion too.
Yeah.
I hated the play call because there is only one option on that play. And if the defense reads it just like they did, you're hosed. There's nowhere else to go there. I like a play where Bo can keep it and run if he wants. He can throw it, at least a read option where he's reading the defense initially. I really did not like. I like the play in general because you're getting Troy Franklin the ball in his hands. I like that, but not for that play when you only have one opportunity.
Yeah, and it was just so important to the game. Like, you make it a one-possession game if you're able to convert that, as opposed to, now we have to score twice to get back in the ball game. It's tough.
Yep. Love the inside scoop. Todd broke that down very well. One question that I have about one of the plays you broke down, that clear out crosser, it worked very well in the second half. In fact, I think they used it twice in a row, and it got 25 yards on each play. Is that an easy thing for teams, for the Saints this coming week, to be like, okay, this is pretty much the only play they had success with this past week? That's an easy thing to stop or not?
I mean, it's not easy to stop, but I think you can get in a few defenses that help you be successful against it. Because the only problem is, like, if you sit down and look for Courtland on the deep dagger, then some of those actual clear outs aren't clear outs anymore. Now they're the number one target, and they can get open. So it's not easy to stop, but if that's all we can do right now, we're kind of showing our hand.
Because if you're a defensive coordinator, isn't that what you're going to make sure the Broncos don't beat you on this week?
Yeah, 100%.
With the Saints?
100%. We got to stop this route for sure.
Yep. And man, if that happens, that could be tough for the Broncos offense because, guys, this was another week, another 0-point first half. This has happened 3 times in 6 games now. Half of their games, the Broncos have not scored in the first half. And one of the things that Pat Shurmur, now the offensive coordinator at CU, was mocked at during his time with the Broncos was he came out when he was the Broncos offensive coordinator and said, you know what, sometimes teams don't score in the first half. And it's like, what? In the NFL? No, that does not happen. Teams always score in the first half. And now it's happened to the Broncos, not once, not twice, but 3 times in 6 games. That is very concerning, right?
I think so. I mean, and score something. Like you could say you may not score a touchdown every time, but 3 points, we can't get 3.
Nope,
like
can't.
it's a bad look. And then it just feels like you start to think about, all the things that happened in the second half, how we were able to move the ball, score 2 touchdowns. Kind of feels like, was that garbage time? Were those garbage points, garbage yards? Like, were they just in prevent the whole time? And that's why we were able to find holes. It doesn't make you feel confident that, like, if we needed a full game, we'll be able to, be a dynamic offense for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Sean Payton said after the game. Because I think I didn't hear the actual question, but seemed like it was actually a pretty positive question. Like, can you learn something from, like, the second half going better? And he said, let's be honest, it picked up when we started going up to. Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you.
What did you feel like you're being nice about it?
No, it was just what changed in the second half compared to the first half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He said, let's be honest, it picked up when we started going up tempo and you're behind. You're getting a different coverage look. Like, it was garbage time. Like, the goal was no longer to say, like, we need a 3 and out or we need to force a turnover. The goal was like, hey, if they score a touchdown here, let's make sure they get 6 minutes off the clock.
Yep.
And when that happens, it's rough because Bo was 4 for 14 for 27 yards going into the fourth quarter. And it's not all his fault, of course. But, yeah, the offense has not been good enough. They haven't pulled their own weight. And that doesn't mean it can't get fixed, but it hasn't been fixed yet.
Yeah, no, 100%, Henry. And that was my biggest takeaway from really Sean was him, because typically coaches will be positive and be like, man, it's something to build off going forward. And in the locker room, that's what the players were saying. They were saying we had no quit. And then also we did some things in the second half we liked. Sean wasn't fully on board with that. He kind of did admit, well, it was garbage time, which is the most concerning part for me because now it's not just once. This happened 3 times now. So, guys, I want to ask the question of the headline of this show to you, and I'll give you a couple minutes to think about it. Is it time to smash the panic button on this Broncos offense? And before I have you answer, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. We've got Coors Light on our table in front of us every single day here when we do the show. I'm rocking a Coors Light sweatshirt. They've got so many great products. And, of course, it starts with the Rocky Mountain cold beer.
Yes.
And their beer is all about chilling, whether it's with friends, whether it's after another 80-degree day in Denver today, whether it's during the Broncos game yesterday or during the Broncos game this Thursday night. Make sure you've got Coors Light with you because it's all about chilling. It's brewed chilled. It's bottled chilled. It's served chilled. And even so much so that the cans or the mountains on their cans and bottles turn blue when it's the perfect temperature to drink when it's perfectly chilled. So check out our friends over at Coors Light. And Coors Light is actually going to hook you up and get Coors Light delivered straight to your door by using the code DNVR. Going over to CoorsLight.com/DNVR will get you Coors Light delivered through Instacart to you. CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And shout out to our friends over at Bet365. Remember to use code DNVR365 at sign up. And I'm happy to say that I am making people money.
Let's go.
Wow.
I need to start betting myself because I'll be making a lot of money. But before the game, we gave some picks, and I told everybody to parlay a Bo Nix touchdown, which was like plus 250 with a anytime touchdown, with a Courtland Sutton anytime touchdown, which was like .260. Plus 260. I told everybody, parlay that. I didn't take the advice myself, but hopefully some of you guys did out there, and be looking at the post-game show because we're going to give picks every single week, and hopefully we just keep making people money. And right now, if you don't have a Bet365 account, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. You can use code DNVR365 to sign up, deposit $10, and choose between either the bet and get offer and place a bet of $5 or more and get $200 in bonus bets, or you get the first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund and bonus bets. Whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to Bet365, the presenting sponsor of our show. All right, the Toyota chat is letting us hear it. Some people are saying, yes, smash the panic button. Some people are saying, no. Broncos are 3-3. Rookie quarterback. Chill, guys. So is it time to chill with the Coors Light? Or is it time to smash that panic button, Todd?
Let's chill, man. I mean, like you said, we're 3-3, and we have winnable games in front of us. Like if the AFC was just loaded with teams, okay, maybe we can get nervous. Mm-hmm. But the AFC is kind of all over the place this year, and I think that if we continue to get better, I think there's still the realistic path even to the playoffs for us. So we can't panic. I think let's just chill and see how it goes. Like we got to keep progressing, but not yet.
Regressing?
But
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Henry, you agree?
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason to panic. I mean, it's a rookie quarterback. Things aren't going well. I think yesterday probably just showed us what we should have expected, which is that, the Broncos only have one formula for winning football games, and that's to hold the other team to like 13 points. And when they've been able to do that, they've been great. But in the other games, not so good. The defense just carries this team. And when the defense isn't good, like yesterday wasn't even terrible. I know it wasn't a good performance, but they gave up 23 points and league average is like 22.2. And again, there's some pacing stuff that makes it a little bit worse than that number, but the offense just isn't in a spot where it can win when it gets an average defensive performance. And so they were due for a game where they needed to kind of carry the load, and they just hadn't really done anything this season that would make you think they'd be capable of doing that.
Man, I didn't think you guys were going to be believing in this offense. I thought you both were going to say like, yeah, we're smashing the panic button, because I'm with you guys. I'm not smashing the panic button yet. It's very concerning, some of the things we have or most haven't seen from this offense. But if you were to tell me that the Broncos were 3-3 with a rookie quarterback in the first 3 games, I would sign up for it. And you have Sean Payton to help turn this around. If you would have told me they've gone 3 different first halves scoring 0 points, I'd probably be smashing that panic button saying, what the heck is going on? I don't know if that's ever happened in the Broncos in the last many decades, where they've scored 0 points 3 times in a first half in the entire season, let alone in the first 6 weeks of a season. So there's definitely concerning things, and you're crazy and I think every Broncos fan would admit that there's reasons to be concerned about the offense, but they're in an okay spot. They're in a totally fine spot right now. Now you need to see Bo have flashes, and that's why I agree with you guys yesterday, and I agree with Sean. Yesterday was panic time or was garbage time when they really did anything. Probably shouldn't count. Outside of, maybe it does give Bo Nix that confidence moving forward of like, hey, I was able to do something. And Sean's like, not really, but yeah, I'm going to make you believe that in order to have some sort of momentum rolling over into the future. But we need to see, we just saw the Bucs drop 51 points against the Saints in New Orleans. This is a Saints defense that you can score against. We can't have another one of these performances.
They've given up 395 yards per game. It's the worst in the NFL. If you don't do anything there, then it is going to be pretty concerning. But again, I mean, the defense just carried the load all season. I think coming into this game, they'd given up 14.5 points per game, which is 4 points per game better than the Super Bowl 50 defense.
Yep.
Like, it just wasn't sustainable. The Broncos offense, only 2 teams have produced fewer touchdowns. And the Broncos on their touchdown drives average 52 yards. So they're getting the ball on average at their own 48 and scoring. That was the best mark in the league. Like, easiest touchdown drives in the league. League average is like the 33-yard line. So the defense, again, just carried the load and carried the load and carried the load. And it's something Sean Payton talks about is like, you have to know how to win each type of game. And when they play those low-scoring defensive games, they can do it. But eventually, they just need to find a formula in games like this. And to me, they don't look anywhere close to finding a formula offensively that's going to work when you need to win a game 27-24.
Yeah, not right now. I gotta go back to something you said. I don't
Mm.
think that the believe button and the panic button are the same button.
Okay.
I think it's
Yeah.
two different buttons. So I'm not pressing the panic button.
Tell me how they're different.
Because I can not panic, but it doesn't mean that I have to fully believe either, right?
There's a big
That's
gap
fair.
between those
You know?
two things. Yeah.
I think it's two different things.
Man, but I don't know. If you have the quarterback, you're not panicking. If you don't have the quarterback, most cases you're panicking.
Or pushing the I don't know button. They might have a quarterback.
That's why my hand. I'm just my hand's not hovering, but it's not too far
Yeah.
off.
I'm pushing the I have no idea about Bo Nix button. That's my button.
Until when? When does it get concerning?
Well, I mean, if this is what the offense looks like at the end of the season, it's concerning. But yeah, I mean, that's
I think
life
year.
with a rookie quarterback. I mean, we came into the season saying like, yeah, it's not about making the playoffs. It's about by the end of the year, the rookie quarterback looks good, the offense looks good, and maybe they look a little bit better than they did in week 1. I honestly wouldn't say so. I don't think that right now they're playing any better football than they did when we first saw them, which is, I mean, not ideal, but there's still months to go and growth isn't linear. You know, you can be right here, then all of a sudden it clicks and they might break out and get hot. Just need to see it before I can say it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to like really pass too much judgment until the year mark. Like I want to see like how everything goes the whole year for Bo. And it's not pretty, man, but like when I look at the tape, like there's certain times where we're like inches away. You know what I'm saying? Like we're 12 inches away from that ball being where Marvin needs it to score a touchdown. Where, you know, a kick step is what, 6 inches. He's 6 inches from Quinn getting a good kick step and not having to hold that guy on a 49-yard pass. Like those are game-changing plays. You know, we're 4 inches away from sack fumble on Justin Herbert and he doesn't get the ball and we get the ball. Like it's not time to panic because we're that close, but it also, you got to see those things like click.
Yeah.
Because I think I've seen it where you're just always inches away. Like it never gets closer. You're just always that far away from being good or winning games.
For 8 or 9 years.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that does concern me is just Bo's accuracy. Because that was kind of the calling card coming out was like he'll put the ball where he wants to put it. Like if he wants it this shoulder, he's got this shoulder. If he wants that shoulder, he's got that shoulder. But I mean, how many times yesterday was, I mean, we saw the one to Marvin that was too high over the middle, but there's one I think to Court on the sideline where it's like 2 steps out in front and there's balls that are low and balls that are up. And that's the one thing that the footwork needs to be cleaned up and maybe that fixes some of it. But if I were looking for one area where I'm actually concerned about Bo, it's that his accuracy is actually just nothing special, which again, that was supposed to be the thing that makes him a really good quarterback instead of just kind of another guy out there.
And honestly, when it comes to this year, though, specifically the Broncos' success this year on the offensive side, I'm most concerned about the running attack. Where's this rushing attack? I mean, the Broncos' offensive line is built to be a very good rushing team. They've got Javonte Williams, Jaleel. I thought that those running backs were way good enough to be a good running attack. Maybe not the best in the NFL, but a really good rushing attack. Bo Nix is almost the Broncos' leading rusher. Javonte Williams has, I think, 213 rushing yards on the season. Bo Nix has 180. Bo Nix is averaging 30 rushing yards per game. Right now, the Broncos are about the 10th worst rushing team in the NFL, averaging 107 rushing yards per game. If you take out Bo's 30 yards, they're the worst in the NFL. Now, I'm sure if you take out quarterback numbers for other teams, maybe a couple of teams would still be worse than the Broncos there. But this is a massive concern. Javonte Williams, Jaleel, they both regressed yesterday after showing some signs of hope over the past 2 games. In 4 of Javonte Williams' 6 games, he's averaged less than 4 yards per carry. In 5 of Jaleel's 6 games, he's averaged less than 4 yards per carry. I'm sorry, unless it's Jaden Daniels, maybe now Caleb Williams, like we're talking about elite 1st or 2nd overall picks in a draft, your offense is really going to struggle if there's no help around. Now, they do have Courtland Sutton, who's obviously making plays. It's pretty much end of the list when it comes to pass catchers right now. Troy Franklin's starting to take that step, but he hasn't been like a massive plus for this offense yet. And if you don't have any running game, that's really going to be tough. And right now, the Broncos don't, and that's something they really need in order to help Bo. And that's the most concerning part to me is like, man, this thing that the Broncos thought was really going to be a strength is a weakness right now.
Yeah, they've lost some pieces. Like when it started to look good, I think they were on a roll, and then Palchevsky get hurt. Not saying Purdy's terrible, but they just had a groove with him, and it was working well. And I think, I think Javonte and Jalil both regressed yesterday, but I think the O-line regressed. I didn't see GB giving up rushes off the edge like that. I didn't see Quinn Miners holding penalties, negating. Like, I think as a whole, they didn't look good yesterday. And I don't know what it is or what the reason for it is, but you're going to live and die by the offensive line. Your running back matters, but first and foremost, you need a good offensive line if you're going to have a good rushing attack. So they didn't look good yesterday, and so they need to pick it up. And whether it's McGlinchey or Palsevsky, if they come back, if that's the switch that turns them back on to being a good running team, something needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the offensive line, there's just always something going wrong. Or at least yesterday, there was always something going wrong. Whether it was Parrott missing the block or whether it was Forsyth, like,
getting run over.
Just doesn't look super experienced out there. Like, there's one play in particular. It's like this outside zone, and he's like in position. He's like running. He has like the one hand on the guy, and the guy just like steps back inside and makes a tackle. And you're like, okay, that's the technique that you run in practice, but that isn't like the full force that you need in an NFL game. So, like, you'd have the couple mistakes from Parrott, couple mistakes from Forsyth. The tight ends were missing blocks. The running backs maybe missed a hole or two, and then you have like, at some point in the game, Quinn Miners is going to miss a block, or Ben Powers. And all of a sudden, when you only run the ball, there's 11 runs with the running backs for 44 yards.
Yep.
I mean, 4 yards per carry isn't terrible. It's not ideal, but it isn't terrible. But when you only have 11 tries at it and everybody just has like their one little hiccup, all of a sudden that running game is nothing special. And I can't find any good numbers on what's working and what's not. Like I would love to be able to see, because I know
working.
Because like Pro Football Focus has like they'll track like how often are you running in a gap scheme, how often are you running in zone, but I can't find like what's working and what's not. And it's a huge project to go back through and be like, here's what it is. But it just feels like they haven't figured out what they're good at when it comes to running the football. And particularly yesterday, it's different when you have guys subbing in, but I think it'll get cleaned up eventually. But there are definitely flaws up front that I didn't expect.
Yeah, very fair. Let's dive over to the defensive side of the ball. How much concern is there with the Broncos not having Pat Surtain, and where does he stand right now? I want to get into that conversation after I give a shout out to our friends over here, over at thednvr.com. We got so many events rocking and rolling, and you can check all of them out over at thednvr.com/events, or over at our social channels, DNVR_sports on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter. Make sure you're following us everywhere to get the most up-to-date information of what we're doing, including our tailgates. Man, these have just been perfect so far this season. Perfect weather, perfect vibes. We got Primo Hoagies, we got Breckenridge Beer, we got Breckenridge Distillery. We got all the good things you could want before a game, and you should join us for these tailgates. You can get tickets over at thednvr.com/events. The Broncos are back in Denver in 13 days on the road in New Orleans. Then they're back against the Panthers. Man, that should be a fun game to be at with the Broncos. Hopefully getting the dub there. And you can even buy season passes to tailgates as well. So check out everything we've got going on, not just Broncos, but Buffs, Avs, Rockies, Nuggets over at thednvr.com/events.
Zach mentioned Primo Hoagies, and we got to have some yesterday at the tailgate. So first of all, I think they're cutting to maybe 3-inch versions of the sandwich, and so you can kind of go grab and try whatever you want. I had a turkey one first. I was like, okay, simple, basic, and then we'll kind of expand from there. And I ate it. And it was really good. And so then I wound up just having more turkey. So I didn't actually get to try the others because the turkey was so good. They look good too, though, and everybody who I saw eating them seemed to be really enjoying them. Primo Hoagies is awesome. They fly ingredients out from Philadelphia. They're the bread in particular. They bake it fresh daily, but they ship it out after it's par baked in Philadelphia. A thing that we Googled and that I forgot what it means again.
Means they ship some of the ingredients out over here.
Par baked though.
Yeah, it means half baked.
Half baked.
Yeah.
Kind of like this podcast sometimes.
I think so.
But yeah,
Wow.
Primo Hoagies, awesome. You can check it out down Centennial I love them, made with great ingredients. And if you want to take advantage of a mouthwatering deal, you can grab their special combo, bag of chips, hoagie, 20-ounce drink, all for $15.99. Check it out. Swing by Primo Hoagies Centennial today. Treat yourself to the perfect lunch meal.
That was a half-baked read right there. 20 seconds over what you're supposed to do.
I know. But then we
Shameful.
get to the end, and it's so long.
Shout out to our friend. No, I wasn't. I was a minute. Shout out to our friends over at Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. All right, guys. What's the concern level? So I talked to Pat after the game. He is in the concussion protocol, but he's doing okay. But he is very, very likely not going to play. In fact, I do not think he can clear the protocol before Thursday night's game. And we saw how that game went. In fact, after the game, Riley Moss told us in the locker room that there was a cloud hanging over the defense's head when Pat went out. And it took him until the first half, until halftime, to kind of shake that off. Well, they're not going to have Pat in New Orleans this week. How concerned are you for the defense without Pat? Obviously, we know with Pat, they're an elite defense. But the reality is they're not going to have Pat on Thursday night. How concerning is it?
I mean, you're going to be concerned a little bit because he's the best corner in the league. But do I think the defense can stand up and do their job? Absolutely. It is tough when you lose your best player. It is a shock, and you kind of got to reinvent yourself as a defense on the fly. I mean, they had Levi Wallace on the outside. They had J-Mac on the outside. They had J-Mac on the inside. Like, they were trying to figure out what will work, like, on the fly. And then this week, I think it gives them time to kind of put together their best 11 to go out there and be pretty good against the Saints. And they gave up 23 points. I think 10 of it was off of turnovers. They held up in the red zone off of the pick. They did give up 7 points off the fumble. But after halftime, like you said, they only gave up 3 points the rest of the game. So they found a groove and they found a way to work together without Pat that was very successful. So I think they'll be able to, hold up and do a good job. They're not going to be as elite because when you lose a player like that, it's hard to be. But I think they can still be a very good defense, especially against the Saints.
Yeah. I mean, Pat put them over the top. I think maybe that more than anything is what we learned yesterday is that, Pat Surtain really does matter, which we knew. But when they signed the contract, there were plenty of people saying, like, don't spend all that money on a cornerback. It's just a cornerback. It doesn't impact the game that much. Like, they're out there doing their own thing. You see what happens without him. Yeah. Like, the idea that you can just throw Levi Wallace out there and run the same defense is pretty crazy because, the Broncos, what was working for them, the reason why they had one of the best defenses in the NFL is because they were rushing 5 or more players at the highest rate in the league because you could put Pat on the top receiver. Riley's playing well in the number 2. Jaquan's playing on the number 3. The safeties are very versatile, do different things, can cover tight ends and running backs. All of a sudden, that formula doesn't look the same when Pat is gone. They score on their first 4 drives of the game yesterday. The Chargers do. I think there are more answers without Pat, but again, I talked about this before. You're giving up 14.5 points per game coming into yesterday. Probably unsustainable regardless, but for one of the reasons that is unsustainable is because injuries come. And so now that you don't have Pat, you're just not going to be that dominant. I think you can still be good, but that he was kind of the piece that makes all of that work.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you guys said, but I'm going to take a different angle on this, and why I'm not that concerned about this week is the Broncos aren't playing an elite quarterback. They're not playing an elite receiver. Chris Olave is not going to play. And then you add on the top of that this is their quarterback's second start and on a short week, and he looked bad in his first start. I mean, if there's any game that you were going to pick to not have Pat, it's not yesterday because they have Justin Herbert. It's this game against the Saints. Maybe the next one against the Panthers too, but I mean, it's probably one of those 2 games right there. So I think when it just comes to this week specifically, the defense should be okay. Now, obviously, you're missing your best player on your entire team. Yeah. That stinks. But this is probably one of the top 2 or 3 matchups in the entire season you would choose to not have Pat if you had to.
Yeah. The next 2 games, if I'm Pat, like, you guys go out there and do your thing, man. I'm going to get healthy, like 100% healthy. Concussions are nothing to play with. No. And if we can't beat the Panthers or the Chiefs, or the Panthers or the Saints, like,
we're not going anywhere anymore.
We're not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm here for the next 6 years. Like, whenever y'all want to be good, I'm here for us to be good. So there's no rush.
Yeah, it's true. I'd almost say, like, let Pat sit out the Ravens game, a game you're probably not going to win anyway, and make sure you get this one. Like, just because.
But you got to get it. They don't have a choice for this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, this is. This is going to be true Thursday night football. Like, you get Spencer Rattler versus Bo Nix on a Thursday night. That's one of those that the nation is not tuning in for.
I'll be tuning in.
We'll be tuning in.
They gave up 51 points last week. Great number, but
That is a good number.
Yes.
What do you guys feel like our offense has to put up? Like anything less than 21, I feel like would suck.
Yeah.
Even if we won 21-0, I would feel like we needed to put up more than 21 points.
I'm setting the bar. So the Broncos outscored the Bucks by 19 points.
Okay.
The Bucks dropped 51 on the Saints. So I'm saying the Broncos need to score 70 points in this game in order for it to not be a disappointment. How do you feel about that?
You're a believer.
No, I mean, yeah, you got to get in the 20s, right?
At least.
They're
Right.
giving up almost
Yes.
400 yards per game. That's absurd.
We need at least 350
yeah.
and the first 100-yard rusher.
And maybe the first 100-yard receiver.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it. One game.
Man. Okay, let me ask you in the first half. Sean said something today. Wait, what were you going to say?
If we do not score the first half of this game, I'm done. I'm going to hit the panic button.
You know
Yeah.
who else is hitting the panic button and is done? Is Sean.
Mm.
Today he said something that put the stakes for the first half of the Broncos game so incredibly high when he didn't need to say this thing out loud because it made me nervous. And it should probably make all of Broncos country nervous. He said, statistically, when you go back through the history of games, teams that have a lead in Thursday night games win a higher percent of games than teams that have a lead on Sundays because of fatigue, preparation, all of that stuff comes in and impacts the game more. So it's harder to come back if you're down at halftime. And I just thought, Sean, why are you saying this right now? The Broncos are coming off a 0-point first half performance. They had 60 yards in the first half. Their defense gave up 20 points in the first half. Like that, I still feel good about this game, but man, that knocked it down a notch when he said that.
I've seen a lot of people saying, like, well, the second half was better. The fourth quarter was better. The third quarter was still not good. Going into the fourth quarter, that's where Bo was 4 for 14 with the 27 yards. And you were down 23-zip going into the fourth quarter, and we were wondering if this was ever going to be the first home shutout in Broncos history. Now, it wasn't. It wasn't. But, like, that was really, really bad. And you got to find a way to come out with something on Thursday. Luckily, they only get, one real practice between now and that game to figure something out. So I don't know what it's going to be.
Just a walkthrough.
Is it just a walkthrough? Yeah, that's I'm curious what they come up with because they really need to come up with something.
Okay, now that we're saying all of this, would you take a 3-0 Broncos win? Or
100%.
Or a 51-50 loss?
I mean, I'm always going to take a win no matter what.
Definitely.
In this game, you got to, I think.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah.
And if they put up 51 points on us,
That's
just horrible. That's just horrible.
Exactly.
Well, the Bucks did it yesterday against them.
Yeah.
I'm just making you uncomfortable just saying those words, Todd. Even though 51's a great number.
51's
It's a lucky number. Just don't let your defense give up that many points. All right, let's jump into the Super Chats. We got a lot of people rocking and rolling with us. And before we do, hit us with a thumbs up. Really helps us out. We really appreciate it. Short week. Should be a similar schedule moving forward. Tomorrow and Wednesday, I think, are going to be at 10 a.m. unless the Broncos change the schedule on us. Then Thursday, no morning show. We got the pregame show going, 5:45? Tune in right around then, about 30 minutes before the game starts. And, of course, postgame show. We'll be back with you guys on Friday at 10 a.m. And let's jump into the Super Chats. First one coming in from the Great One says, from the Great One, Sean put little Jordan Humphrey at fullback for a play. What a joke. Do you guys agree with that? That was bad to see? Yeah, I thought that you would be a fan.
No, I was thrilled when I saw him out there. Like, you can't say we want creativity, and then as soon as they do something creative, say you hate it. There's obviously a package there. The run went the other way. It's not like it didn't work because of him. But I would say get more receivers in the backfield. Marvin Mims, haven't really been able to get him going. What about old Deebo Samuel type stuff? Like, typically you have a really good receiver who earns some of that. But third and 9, you go shotgun, you get Marvin in the backfield, let him maybe run a route, do what I just think that there's room for some of that. And I think little Jordan Humphrey, maybe more than any receiver but Court, deserves to get, I don't know, move him around a bit, see what he can do.
You lost me when you said the Deebo Samuel role, because I think it'd be a totally different role. for Marvin. I don't want Debo Marvin trying to like body guys like Debo does, but I can see the creativity. Yeah.
Yeah. Thoughts on?
Yeah, I like the creativity. Do I think Marvin Mims is Debo Samuel? No, I don't necessarily think that. I think he's more straight line speed.
Yeah.
So I do think that the shots and even like the runs outside have been working. He's been getting like 7-8 yards of pop on those. So if he can continue to have more straight line stuff, I think that works.
They put Tyreek back there too, who's also stronger. But I mean, there's just
a little better.
There's creative things that you can do with those guys. And I know Lil Jordan Humphrey going to fullback isn't maybe the most exciting of those creative things, but he's a really good player. And I like the idea that you're finding different ways to get him involved.
Yep, putting him
really
at fullback.
Good in a Broncos perspective. Just so, yeah.
Our guy Christopher chimes in and says, how does the projected cap look this offseason for upgrading the offense? It's the one I cannot read that. That's got to be bigger. Mile High Sign says 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1,082 yards. What is your rookie score for Bo Nix?
Go letter grades?
Yeah. Yeah, letter. 72.
72. A little C minus action.
Yeah, I go 75. I go C.
I mean, C minus.
C minus.
And honestly, I feel a little generous, but I mean, it's as many turnovers as passing touchdowns. But yeah, C minus. He's a rookie. It happens.
Boom. There we go. All right. Thank you for that one, our friend Mile High Sign. Christopher now chimes in and says, how does a projected cap look this offseason for upgrading offense? I know Bo's ball placement isn't consistent right now, but it also feels at times that the offense is not in sync. Still issues with the play clock.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of times. What's the cap situation look like for the Broncos, Henry? Because there were a couple of times where the Broncos just had inexcusable penalties on offense, whether it was a hold from Garrett Bowles or Quinn that negated a big play like you showed in the inside scoop, or a delay of game from Bo on 3rd down. There were just things that absolutely cannot happen.
Yeah, I mean, the top 10 in salary cap space this offseason, they dropped down to 11th. Almost top 10 in cap space. And then it'll get even better the year after that. Because I think they're like 3rd or 4th those next couple of years, mostly because they don't have a lot of guys under contract. They haven't had a lot of guys who've earned long-term extensions. But they have flexibility, and it's important to have that flexibility down the line, because typically the first year of a contract is by far the least expensive. If you give somebody like a $15 million per year deal, it'll probably cost you like $5 million the first year. So they can go spend a lot of money this offseason. The thing is, really good players rarely hit the free agent market. Like, you're kind of looking at like the 2nd tier guys, and the Broncos are kind of a team of like maybe more 3rd than 2nd tier guys when you look across the board, but it's not like Justin Jefferson's going to be sitting out there for you.
Right, exactly. Next one from CTOD Ghost, who says, should highly consider trading for Kyle Pitts. I agree. I mean, if he's out there, the Broncos should be interested. I just don't know why a team that thinks they're Super Bowl contenders in the Falcons would be willing to trade a very valuable weapon for them.
Yeah, no, the Falcons would have to be really, really stupid to do that. Because now the reason that was a conversation a couple weeks ago is because they hadn't figured out how to work him into the offense. That's changed. He had I think it was 88 yards 2 weeks ago, 70 yards this week. Like, they're off and running, and they think they're really good. And Kyle Pitts is just a freak. So I don't think there's any chance you could get him.
Yep, I agree. All H-Mac says, how would you feel about going with Audric Estime and Blake Watson at running back? Man, that would be a switch going with those two.
Happy birthday to Blake Watson.
Switcheroo.
It's his birthday. Maybe give him that job.
Oh, man, I think we're just thinking about any options now. Like, we're at the point where like anything can go, you know?
Yep.
So if that would spice up the running back room and give us a spark, I think everybody's looking for sparks.
Yeah.
Sean, the whole entire coaching staff, especially the offensive coaching staff, they're looking for something, some spark.
I think it's a little too much of a spark, though. What I do think will happen is I think we'll see Audric Estime get some more opportunities, especially this Thursday night. Sean kind of pointed to it after the game. He said, I want to see the rookie running back. I want to see Estime. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, you get to control that. So I think with him admitting that after the game, we will see a little bit more of him. I don't know if they'll go crazy and do estimate and Blake Watson.
But who knows if we will, because last year it was all, Marvin's not getting enough touches, and that's on me. We got to get him more touches.
Here it
It's
comes.
very
Here it
true.
comes.
Never really happened.
no.
Everybody had their hopes up, but I don't know.
It's true.
I don't know. We'll see.
Audric has 4 carries for 27 yards. He also fumbled on 25% of them. But if you ignore that part,
Yeah,
you'd say
exactly.
you need to
That's
feed
what
him
I'm
and see if
most
it
nervous
works.
about. I think his arms are
Exactly.
just so
Well, Javonte
strong.
fumbled too,
Like
though.
It just
the ball
squeezes right
doesn't,
out.
it squeezes the ball out.
But you also need more Troy Franklin. You also need more Devon Bailey. Like, it's time
That's
to
what
get the
we
young
saw
guys out there
yesterday.
and see if there's some sort of pop.
Yep, and let's see if we can have some sort of pop tomorrow where we're breaking down the Saints moving on. And what's it going to be like for Sean Payton to go back to New Orleans? He talked about that today. We've got the insight, and we will tell you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in.
We all silly like the mayor.